Hello, it's me, and I'm going to address some more viewer questions. The first comes from Gerardo Lopez Herrera, and he's got another one of these fantastic 3x4x5 puzzles. And his question was, what can I do about this case? Thanks! So basically what he shows is, well, a situation like this. My color scheme is very different, but you can see that I've got two centerpieces over here on the one side. And on the other side over here, you can see we have two centerpieces over here. I think his might be on a slightly different side, but anyway, so we've got two over here and we've got two over here, and how do we get out of this? So it at first looks like it shouldn't cause too much trouble. You've got two to swap over here and two to swap over here, so is there an issue? Well, all you need are two algorithms to do this, one of which is the typical 180-degree URF'd algorithm, and the other is what I call the brick parity algorithm. So just to kind of pause for a second, what do I really mean by brick parity? What do I mean by what's going on with that? Well, the way that this puzzle is defined is this particular cuboid is a brick cuboid, which is the 3x4x5 form, and I called it that because, well, it looks like a brick. So it basically has the form of n by n plus o by n plus p, where o is any odd number and p is any even number. So that's to be sure that you have two sides that have the same parity layers that are both either odd or both either even. Then you've got one other layer that stands out that's not of the same. So because of that, it has kind of a unique structure. In this case, I can do 90-degree turns over here, and then I can continue to do turns from here, but I can only do 180-degree turns in this plane, because this is in the n plus 1 area. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. So you can't shape shift like that. That's your n plus o, where the o is a odd number, but when you have an even number, then you've kept it within the same parity. So because of that, it has the same type of kind of overall structure as a domino. So what's meant by parity is it refers to the overall structure of a puzzle being one way or another way, like right-handed or left-handed. It doesn't really work that way in puzzles, but the overall organization of a puzzle being odd or even is a very basic difference in its organization. So a puzzle that has odd parity, all that means is that the center and the edges go right down to the core, and they rotate with the core. If you have even parity, then your centers and edges don't go down to the core. The real centers and real edges are in the core that are hidden, and are actually hidden underneath what I would call specialized corners. We call those specialized corners centers and edges, but they're not really centers and edges on a 4x4. They're specialized corners that cover the hidden pieces. So a puzzle that demonstrates even parity just means that you have hidden pieces and you're not sure what the rotation is. If you have odd parity, it means that you have centers and edges that go down to the core that can be seen. When you have a parity problem, it means you're trying to collapse one parity to another and solve it as that parity, and find you have impossible situations. The overall structure of a cuboid is based upon those kind of mathematical organizations, such as a domino being an n by n plus o by n plus o, or n by n by n plus o, where o is any odd number. So that's that particular parity. And notice with that, you're actually combining two different even or odd parities. So a domino, by definition, is a superpositioning of an odd and even parity together. So we define a cuboid as a different kind of a structure, where there's the domino parity, which is what that looks like, a shape-shifting cuboid, which is an n by n by n plus p, where p is any even number. And then you've got these bricks, which is n by n plus o by n plus p, o being odd and p being even. Then you've got the floppy cuboids, which is n by n plus p by n plus p, where p is any even number. So that's those structures, those forms that I've called it, are actually referring to the parity of the puzzle. So basically you can collapse, say, a shapeshifter down to a domino, and you might run into parity as you try to solve it as a domino. In this case, you don't really collapse a brick to a domino. It really moves like a domino anyway. It has the same type of movement. So this is like if I move it like this, then this is really moves just like a 3x3x4. You go 1, 2, you've got 1, 2, 3 here, 1, 2, 3 over here, and then you're 4 down. The difference is there are certain pieces you don't have access to if you do it like that, and you don't have access to these pieces. So the way that you collapse this is you collapse a brick that's all shape-shifted, do a domino solve, and then end up with what I call a Rubik 180 solve. So the hope is that once you've collapsed it down to its native shape, you then can do Rubik's 180, you can just do 180-degree algorithms to finish the solve. The parity happens when you can't solve it by doing 180-degree moves. You've collapsed it down to a different kind of a puzzle, basically, doing just 180, but you find yourself trapped in that you can't solve it using just 180-degree moves. And that would be a brick parity, because you have to go away from 180-degree moves and do some of these moves, which shapeshifts it. So that's all that really refers to. For me, it just helps describe the solve a little bit better, in that if I find that I've collapsed it to a certain, from one strategy of one type of puzzle to another, and I can't solve it as that ladder organization, then I've come across a parity based upon the structure of that puzzle. So this represents a brick parity. And what this is well, the first thing to do is to get them back using 180-degree moves as much as you can. So this and this, we're going to swap these two. Instead of having 3 pieces that are out, we'll just have 1 that's out. So what we're going to do, we're going to hold it like this and do a URF'd algorithm, which is a 180-degree type algorithm. So that's going to be 2U, 2R, 2F, 2U, 2U, 2F, 2R, 2U. It did flip-flop these, just leaving this out. Now it did move the issue to the top here, move the misplacement here. So we just do the same thing, but our F is now this instead of this. So that's going to be 2U, 2R, and now this is our 2F, 2F, 2U, 2U, 2F, 2R, 2U. And that brings that back. So now we have these two left, and this brings out the true parity of this puzzle. This is a brick parity. Now I've gone through how I worked my way through doing a brick parity, but it means we can't just do 180-degree turns. We have to break the parity of that kind of a solve and go back into brick type motions. There's a left-sided version and a right-sided version. Without getting into too much detail of the algorithm, I'll point you to where I came up with a solution with that. The way this is going to work is this will go here, this will go here, and this will go here. Now mind you, just like the previous one, it will move that brick parity to the outer layer, but at least we'll move it away from here, then we just do it again. So the way that's going to work is you do a 2F, and now my U's and my UI's are going to be this layer here. So it's a 2F, UI, 2L, U, 2R, UI, 2L, U, 2R. Now we do another 2F, and then we do a slice over here with a 2L. 2L, and then another 2F. And now we just undo what we did by starting off with a 2R. So we'll do a 2R, UI, 2L, U, 2R, UI, 2L, U. We do another 2F, and then we swing this middle one again, bang, and now you can see this is all fine. So you fixed it. Now we have moved the brick parity to the outer layer. It's the same thing. This will go here. This will actually move here, so I've got to, rather here, so I've got to take this and just turn it back over here. So this will go here, this will go here, and this will go here, and everything will be fine. So we do it again. Only this time I move it from this direction. So once again, the left-handed version, 2F, U, UI, 2L, U, 2R, UI, 2L, U, 2R, do a 2F, and then swing it from the middle here, and then 2F, reverse it, 2R, UI, 2L, U, 2R, UI, 2L, U, do a 2F, swing this back over here, and you got it. Now we simply move that back over here, and that's how you get to that. So you just needed 2 algorithms to do that, with doing it from the middle layer and then doing it from the top layer, and that's how you can get that back. One is a 180-degree URF'd algorithm, the other is the brick parity algorithm, which takes you out of your native shape just for a little bit so that you can get things back where they were. Hope that helped. Thanks for watching. So here's another viewer question regarding this. Now, I have to apologize because I couldn't find the email that asked me about it, and I can't remember the name, and I don't have the pictures. But basically, it's, and I actually had two variations of this question using this conjoined cube. One was using a conjoined 3x3, the other was doing a conjoined 2x2. But the mechanism is actually the same, and it had to do with swapping swapping these two. Now normally what you can do if you had to swap these two, you do a 2R, U, 2R, UI, 2R, UI, and up, you can't do a DI. So that made things difficult. What I'm actually going to do is I'm just going to scramble this up and do a very quick solve, because I've done a solve of a Siamese cube, but not a conjoined cube. And it is a slightly different solve experience. This is from Smaz. There are certain builders that I have puzzles from who typify quality, and Smaz is one of those. This is a very smooth moving puzzle. The difference between a conjoined cube and a Siamese cube is well, this. Well, this is actually a triamese, but you can just ignore this last part. But you can see that with a Siamese cube, you have a lot more freedom of movement. You've got a middle layer here and a middle layer here. So you just have one layer that's bandaged. Here, you don't have any middle layer moves available to you. All you have are up moves, right moves, and F moves. Here, you've got up moves, and then you've got this middle move over here. And you've got right moves, and you've got middle move over here as well. You don't have F moves, and you don't have B moves, but you still have more moves over here, so you can scramble up the centers. So let's see how this works. Let's see what we do with this, and we'll probably more likely get to the situation that was causing some trouble. Okay, so the way that I would start off with this, unlike the Siamese cube, the centers are known to us. So I'm going to do it layer by layer, each one layer by layer. Let's see, how do we want to start off? We'll do the green. So green and black, we'll find the green and black edge, well, it's actually here, and then move it down, bang. Next we have orange, we'll find the orange and black edge, right here, move it down, splat. Now we're going to go ahead and put our corners in. So here I'm looking for the red, green, and black. Red, green, and black, where are you? Right over here. So this I just roll in by the usual mechanism. Nothing too fancy here, so this is in. Now I'm looking for the green, orange, and black. Found it right here. So this rolls in the same way as any 3x3. Now I'm looking for the orange, black, and blue, which is right over here. So I just kind of roll this in over here. Okay, so that's the first layer here. If you weren't sure how to do that, it's the same thing as a beginner's technique. Now to move this in here, I can't use a beginner's technique strategy. I have to do it slightly different because I don't have the right amount of moves available to me. I can't do an L move after I do an R move. So this one over here, this is going to be green and red. Where's green and red? Right over here. So to move this in, I have to have this R move available to me and this U move available to me. To move this in here, this is a variation. I can't do the beginner's method because I can't do this move. And this is going to be when I have to go from the right on down, R to U, RI, U, R to U, RI, to U, R, UI, RI. And it pops it in there. Now over here we're looking for the green and orange. It's over here. Well, let's pop this out here. So I'm just going to move this out here. This is a left-sided version. So we have LI to U, L, UI, LI to U, L, to U, LI, U, L. Okay, it just popped that out. Now what I need to do is I need to take, in order to move this correctly, blue and orange. Where's my blue and orange? Oh, it's right here. Well, this is actually kind of easy because to move this over here, all I have to do is 2R, to U, to R, to U, to R, to U. So that's popped into here. So the green and orange, okay, green and orange, this comes into here, left-sided version, that's going to be Li to U, L, UI, Li to U, L to U, Li, U, L. And that pops that into here. So we have all of this layer in. So now this top layer over here, first thing I want to do is I want to rotate all of these yellows correctly. I've got 2 here. The way this is going to work is find a situation where you have a yellow coming out at you and to the right. So I'm not going to move it here, but to the right and coming out at you. And just do a SUNY, R, U, R, I, U, R, 2, U, R, I. When you get this configuration, you're almost there. When one is up over here, you find the one that's coming out at you. It's over here. This is on the left side, so just put it to the left now and just do the anti-SUNY. That's going to be Li, Ui, L, Ui, Li, 2, U, L, and it'll pop them all back up. So now you have a situation where you're looking for the 2 that are in, 2 corners that are in, move it to the right, and now we want to do a corner swap. The problem is I can't do a corner swap for the reasons that I mentioned at the beginning. So I have to do a variation. And the variation of this is basically going to be a T-perm. Now what a T-perm does is it basically flip-flops these 2 and flip-flops these 2. So it looks like a T. And the structure of a T-perm is you put these to the left, and you're going to do the algorithm R, U, R, I, U, I, then R, I, F, R. Then R, U, I, R, I, U, I. Then R, U, R, I, F, I. And what that'll do is that'll effectively flip-flop those 2 and put all of your corners back in. Once you've got your corners in, you simply do your edge swaps, and you will not get any parity with this. So I'm going to take this, move it to here, to R, to U, to R, to U, to R, to U. That's an opposite edge swap. It created misplacement here. Then I'm going to do an adjacent edge swap, which is to R, U, to R, U, to R, to U, to R, to U, to R, U, to R, U, I, to R. So remember that T-perm, and that'll get you out of it. Really quickly, we can go through this, blue and orange. Let's find ourselves our blue and orange, which is right here, splat. Now our red and orange, rather black and orange, right over here. We can move this down, line it up, move this down here and up. So now we're good over here. Blue, yellow, and orange, right over here. And I'm going to keep moving it up and rolling it in until I get satisfaction. So it's over here. Blue, black, and orange, right over here, and down here, black, green, and orange, black, green, and orange, right here. Okay, so this is already in. I got to move this in, blue and yellow. This pops into here, R to U, R I U, R to U, R I to U, R, U, I, R, I. Boom. That's in. This guy here. This moves down over to here. Again, right-sided version. R to U, R, I, U, R to U, R, I to U, R, U, I, R, I. Oop, upside down. Let's try that again. Okay, so the problem here is I just have to move it on the left side. So actually no problems. Li to U, L, U, I, Li to U, L to U, Li, U, L. Something like that. Anyway, so that's in here now. Now here we have to actually rotate the corners, the edges rather. That's easy. In this case we have the line here. F, R, U, R, I, U, I, F, I. So same thing as beginner's method. You see one is rotated up. This one is facing out at me, so this is going to be the right-sided SUNY. If this were not facing out at me, then I'd have to go and find this one. This red would be facing out at me over here, so it's going to be one of the 2. R, U, R, I, U, R, 2, U, R, I. So we have another opportunity to do the T-perm because these are in, and I've got to flip-flop these guys. R-U, R-I-U-I, R-I-F-R, R-U-I, R-I-U-I, R-U-R-I-F-I. Something like that. Anyway, so that brings that in. We don't have to do any corner swaps, and there you have it. So the only technique that's different is the use of the T-perm. This is going to come in handy if you're doing a conjoined cube or if you're doing a conjoined 2x2, which I think was another question. And this might come in handy if you have any other kind of bandaging where you're limited to this move, and this move. So there you have it. Keep the questions coming in. Thanks for watching.